Hey, sneak peekers, this is Alex Mascareño, and I'm here with director of Now You See Me Too, Jon M. Let's get started.
What's up?
Hey, so the director for the first film was Louis Leterrier. Yeah, and so can you tell me what it is that you bring into this movie? What can the audience expect to change, expect to stay the same?
Well, one of the big, should I take this? Yes, let me take it. Why not? One of the things that that drew me to the movie was that it was taking a different perspective, and magic changes, as you know, from different seats of where you're watching the magic trick. So the idea that in the first movie it was this big spectacle, it was on stage, they had 3 big shows. Us, the movie audience, got to experience as an audience member in the audience itself would experience. In this one, we got to go behind the curtains, and we got to be with our horsemen, our heroes, with Woody and Jesse and Mark and all these people, and Lizzy backstage, which was really cool, and get to see them escape a magic trick, that they're trapped in a magic trick, and see their skills trying to figure out how to get out of this thing. And so for me, that was really interesting. And the idea that Louis has such a specific style that I could contrast that style and I could like pivot in a different way. And Louis and I talked a lot, and he was great. He actually did second unit on this one. He actually offered, he was like, hey, I'm in town in London. If you want me to shoot like some close-ups, some audience members, like I'm totally down to do it, which I love. How like egoless and amazing is that? I think everyone had this movie's wanted to make this movie really work well, from the cast to him to the studio, and so I think you feel that goodwill on screen for sure.
And so you say you brought in your own style, and I'm sure you had some like everything planned, but is there a specific scene that you know really fell into place? It was exactly how you imagined it?
Well, I wouldn't say it's exactly how I imagined it, but it is definitely one of those things that sort of became something greater than I could have ever imagined, or something that we all had to work together to figure out. And that's, we have this great sequence in the middle of this movie that is a card heist sequence, because our magicians are really good at cardistry, where they palm cards and hide cards in their sleeves. We got to see them steal this computer chip, which just so happens to be the shape and size and weight of a playing card. And so you watch these guys, what seems to be just a normal small room, security room, and they're getting searched. You see them hiding the card, flipping the card, putting it in their jacket and their hair, sliding across the floor. You get to see them throw the card as they're avoiding any sort of detection from the security guards. And it's this sort of psychological chess match between them and security guards. Security guards don't even know this is happening. So I love the sequence. You get to go with the card. The camera goes through their jackets with them. You get to see all the little contraptions and things. And we had to work with both real magicians to figure out how this could actually work, because we wanted to do as much as we could real. We had to train our actors to palm and do all these tricks. It was much like a dance, actually. And then our cameras had to know what angles to see things, you know. And one angle looks like nothing's happening. When you rotate all the way around, you see the card in their hands. And I think that was a really fun, challenging sequence that ultimately I think when you're watching it in a theater, you just have a lot of fun with.
Yeah. And so going off of that, I guess a lot of people are wondering, how much was CGI and how much was real tricks? And you said there's most of it was magicians training the actors. Was it you had an end goal and that's how you let your magicians experiment and you went with that, or was it you had a specific trick in mind and then you taught or the magicians taught the actors?
I think it went both ways. Like, first we have it written in a script and we storyboard a certain thing, and then you go to the magicians and the magicians say, well, that's not really possible. Let's try to change this. And from the very beginning, our intention was to do as much practical as possible. When Lizzy gets her head chopped off at the beginning of the movie, that's a real contraption with her real head falling into the couch that took weeks and weeks to R&D and to create. In any other movie, we would have just done it CG. But in this movie, we really wanted to show the audience that we did it for real. So once we get the magicians to sort of weigh in on how this could actually be done, and they shoot it usually on their iPhone, showing us the techniques they would do to palm a card or do cardistry, then we have to teach the actors. And then what the actors will do, they'll usually get good at something really fast, and so then we lean in that direction. And so then the magicians will be like, hey, they're really good at tossing. Let's do some more tossing in this sequence. So everyone's sort of rolling with it. We're both engineering it and reverse engineering the sequence together. And that's sort of what I mean by it sort of becomes something that you can't plan.
And so there's a lot more Woody Harrelson in this movie. Can you tell us a bit about that?
There's double the amount of Woody Harrelson in this movie. It was something that came out of, it wasn't originally supposed to be him playing both parts. It came more of in our discussions with Woody about what this character was, and he was like, I want to play both. And I mean, who are we to argue? Of course. But when you have an amazing pro like Woody and somebody that just is delicious in everything he does, especially in Chase, who's the definition of delicious in that. He has this perfect teeth, crazy like hair, and tanned and like all this stuff.
Tell us a bit about the casting of Daniel Radcliffe and Lizzy Caplan.
Well, Lizzy, we wrote it basically for her, not knowing whether she could do the movie or whether she was even interested in the movie. But we knew we needed an element that would shake the group up. That could be more crass, more dirtier than them, call out the bullshit of the movie. Like anytime, it was like basically dropping a fan into the movie itself and saying whatever is on their mind was sort of the idea of it, and that she always speaks the truth. She actually never lies in the movie or says something that's wrong. It's all, and so that was a fun character because everybody always rolls their eyes at her, but she's actually saying everything that's right. And the idea that in their darkest moments, when they could turn away and go home because they've escaped, she says, that's not why I joined this group. Like, I'm a fan of the Horsemen because you guys are different than other magicians. You guys actually do good. And to have that kind of spark in there was really helpful. Of course, Daniel Radcliffe, the wizard himself, to be able to play a guy who was anti-magic was a fun idea that, again, we didn't know whether he would say yes to it or not. And when you have a cast like this and a movie like this that's beloved by fans, I think you get a lot of benefits from that. And he jumped in, and he had a lot of fun with it. So that was fun. I think the audience will have a lot of fun with seeing him play this crazy, weird character.
And so there's an international scenes at London, I believe, and Macau. So why Macau, China, and how was it to film there?
Well, we wanted to find, all these movies these days have settings that get overused. And so there's a certain point where you're like, well, where are we going to go? Where can they be placed in the middle of nowhere, but also have spectacle? Where can they be placed that a magician would flourish, but at the same time could get lost in it, and could hide in it, and they couldn't escape? It's almost like a magic box prison. We had all these different lists, and ultimately Macau was really interesting. One, because we hadn't seen a movie in Macau in a long, long time, and two, the idea that Vegas is so a part of a heist movie, and yet this wasn't Vegas. This was it's like Vegas times 10, and it had this Portuguese architecture, and it's on an island, and it's at a place that's not a lot of people know about, and has this actually Eon's, the magic store in our movie, actually exists on there, and it's been around for many, many years. So all these elements together were entertainment, greed, culture, both Chinese and Portuguese, and a Vegas element to it, all sort of meshed together. Seemed like the best place to put this crazy group of horsemen there, and that's sort of where it came from.
And so I wanted to ask, what was your favorite behind-the-scenes moment that you would like to share with us?
Well, working with Michael Caine and Morgan Freeman is pretty amazing. I took all sorts of selfies with them, which was great. Morgan Freeman at some point told me to pull up my pants, because I guess I wear loose pants. I don't know. My mom loves him for that one. But probably one of the funniest moments was in the scene where Mark Ruffalo is being saved by all the other horsemen, and he's just been in the water, and he's basically like throwing up water in the scene. Mark is so into his acting that he literally, in one of the takes, accidentally really threw up. But it was the weirdest looking throw up. It was like white baby food. Like, I have no idea what he ate before that, but it was disgusting. And it took our other actors around him like several seconds to realize what actually happened. And so we have it on footage where he throws up this white stuff and everyone's still acting. And then Lizzy realizes that it's actual throw up and she's like, ah, because they're supposed to be happy that he's alive, but then they're like not happy. They're like, oh my God. And then Dave's like, ah, and then Woody's like, oh my God. And they just start running. And then Mark is like, realize what, and he's so embarrassed. He's like, ah, and he like turns to the camera and just like white throw up all over. It was disgusting. But those are one of those moments we always talk about and can't forget. Once you see Mark Ruffalo with throw up all over him, you can't really get that out of your mind.
Well, I'm excited for the movie, and thank you for your time. And so Now You See Me Too comes out June 10th, and go ahead and go see the movie.